So I'm joined by Roy O'Donovan, who played in the A-League for Brisbane Roar, Newcastle Jets, Central Coast Mariners, as well as a whole bunch of clubs in England and the Premier League. Thanks for joining me, Roy.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
We'll start with a pretty straightforward question. Where did your love of football first start?
I was a bit of a late introduction to football. Just when I was about probably 7 or 8, I started kicking around on the road with my buddies, and they were kind of good, and I wasn't great at that age. And I said to my dad when I got home, I want to play a bit more football, and that was it. Then he started taking me out, starting putting the Man United games or the Premier League games on the TV at the weekend, and I started watching. And at half time, I go out and kick the ball for 20 minutes, and so that's been it's been an obsession since I've been probably 7 or 8 years old now.
And you were a trainee at Premier League side Coventry when you were a teenager. Just how difficult was the step up from, schoolboy football to this professional setting for you?
It was very difficult. The hard part was moving away from home, moving away. So I left school at 15, left my parents and my sister, my friends in Ireland to go live in an academy with a load of ambitious footballers and live this regimented lifestyle that was alien to me. I obviously love football and that's all I ever wanted to do, but it was it was a tough transition for a kid, really, and it's probably too young. You only find that out after you go. Probably wasn't really. If I had my chance again, I would probably wait till I was after 18. But football-wise, loved the football, loved the training. Training in the morning, new friends. Everybody was at a really good level, good standard. And I got to train even when I was 15 to 16 with the first team at times, who were in the Premier League, as you said, and you the likes of Hartson and Bellamy and Chris Kirkland and Mustafa Hadji. They had a top side, So it was a good introduction to what it takes to be a pro.
And you did return back to Ireland shortly after with Cork City, where you had some pretty incredible form. It ended up leading you to a Premier League move again to Sunderland. But what was it about Cork City that really brought out the best in you?
Yeah, look, as I just touched on the last question, I was too young probably to go away to England originally. Probably mentally, I missed home, I missed my family. Because when the football is finished in the afternoon, there's a lot of free time, a lot of time to think, and you haven't got your parents or your friends there. This was a time now when I could only call my parents on a payphone. There wasn't any Zoom, there wasn't any Skype. It was old school. So going back to Cork, moving back in with my parents for a little while, and being around my friends, it just helped me blossom. And I was very lucky. I played in a great team. It was League of Ireland at the time was thriving as a full-time league, and I got to we won the league. I countless individual awards, but it was a great team, and get the opportunity to play qualifiers in the Champions League and the Europa League every year. It was outstanding, and to win some silverware. I thought I would have won more by now. I've been in a lot of finals. I haven't won a league trophy since 2005.
And as I just mentioned, you did join Sunderland after Cork City. Their manager was Irish legend and football legend Roy Keane. So just how big of a role did Roy have in your decision to join Sunderland?
Oh yeah, look, he was the big factor. I had an opportunity to go to a few Premier League teams at the time, but when Roy came in, obviously being where I'm from and from Cork as well, the north side of Cork, where he's from as well. Obviously, he's on my wavelength. He's got a pretty good name as well, and the same birthday, believe it or not. So there was a lot of things calling to go to Sunderland, but mostly it was the fact that he said he'd look after me, he'd give me a fair go. And there was a lot of Irish influence there. Niall Quinn was the chairman, and there was a lot of Irish players. So it seemed like a good fit for me at the time, and it turned out that way. I worked hard. I didn't start as many games I would have liked there, but I played 19 games in my first season coming from League of Ireland, so I must have done something right.
And you made your Premier League debut against Birmingham City. You come off the bench in the 70th minute. What do you remember about that match? And personally, how do you think you went in the game?
Yeah, I came on as a right winger, so I'd been playing as a striker prior to that, but I would have played on goal if he asked me to. I came on in the right wing, and within 2 minutes, Carlos Edwards, who was playing at right back, done his hamstring, and we had all our subs made. So I ended up playing as a right wing back for my first 2 games in the Premier League, believe it or not. Didn't know what I was doing back there, but I ran around, I was game. And what I do remember from that game, the Birmingham game, was we were 2-1 down, it was 5 minutes to go, and the goalkeeper came out for a corner, and I kind of went up with him, and I fell down on top of the goalkeeper. And as I fell down on the goalkeeper, I stayed there for a second or two longer, and Stern John was at the back stick. He tapped it into an empty goal because the keeper was pinned to the floor. This is before VAR. And I remember after the game, we got a draw, and obviously Roy was very happy, got a pat in the back there. But Steve Bruce, who was the manager of Birmingham at that time, wasn't too kind to me in his post-match reviews. So I always remember that. But yeah, we got the point in the game. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. You're in it to make an impact, to win football games. And we got a result away from home that night. So, yeah.
So before we started this interview, you and I quickly touched on the fact that you've had a lot of loan moves. And you have had a lot of loan moves. So just how difficult is it as a young player getting sent out on loan 3, 4, 5 times to different dressing rooms, different atmospheres? You know, how hard is it to adjust?
Yeah, look, when you're not in the mindset to move, I suppose the fact a new manager comes in at Sunderland, like happened. Steve Bruce came in as a manager of Sunderland, actually, and I wasn't in his plans. So you kind of end up going on this nomadic journey to get football. No, I could have stayed at Sunderland, sat my backside and took my salary, but I wanted to play. I genuinely, I've always wanted to play and prove myself. And yeah, the thing with going on loan is the human aspect. You've got to drag your family, you've got to move home very quickly, and you've got to, as you said, move into a different dressing room where sometimes you don't know anybody, you don't know the manager, you don't know the city. So it takes a bit of adjusting, and you haven't got that, you haven't got that time to adjust. It has to work. And with loan moves, for me, some of them have worked brilliantly, and some of them have been so. I haven't enjoyed it. And, I went to clubs on loan for a month. I went on loan to clubs for 3 months. You're not building anything long term, but it's just an opportunity to get some game time. But as I said, some of them were terrific for me when they fitted my lifestyle, and I was able to score some goals and move on to other things then more permanent.
And you spent a good chunk of your career in England, in the lower leagues of England, most notably with Northampton Town. Now, every footballer I've spoken to, no matter what leagues they've played in, they've always said that the English lower leagues are the toughest leagues they've ever played in. Do you think that reputation is justified? And if so, how did you find it personally?
It's very difficult. There's a lot of very good players. The volume of players in the UK, everybody wants to play in England. Obviously, they've got 92 league clubs, the Premier League being the pinnacle as well. So there's a lot of professional footballers looking for work, and it's a competitive, ruthless industry. So if you're not getting game time in the Premier League, there's a loan opportunity to go on loan. If you've been let go by a Premier League team, or if you're not doing well in the Championship, you want to go and test yourself. So there's a lot of footballers on that merry-go-round, and it's if you're not playing well, I feel like there's no waiting period. It's like you're not playing well, you're out at the next loan player in or the next signing. So yeah, it's difficult. But look, as I said, I was fortunate in the lower leagues that physically I was able to compete, which is the most difficult part I found in England. It is physical, as in like not just tackles and having to put yourself around a bit. You got to just run as well. You got to put that all in and play football and show your skill set in a very direct physical game. So it takes a bit of adjustment, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed all different challenges that I've had in football to know. And as I said, it's different to the A-League. The A-League, obviously, people don't play very direct football. They want to play this build-up passing game through midfield. Everybody does the same thing. They all get the FFA coaching badge and they do the exact same thing. But I suppose in England there is definitely a little bit of difference there. There's a lot of different styles.
Now, you said earlier you have had a bit of a nomadic career. And I think nothing sums it up more than where you'd go after leaving England. You went to Brunei. So
Yeah.
just how did that move come about?
Yeah, well, I'd been doing well at Northampton, but I had suffered with injuries this particular season. I was after having double hernia surgery, and I had an ankle problem, and basically I'd missed half a season. And it was a January transfer window. I hadn't played an awful lot for Northampton, and yeah, an old teammate of mine rang me up and said he's recruiting for somebody the foreign spots for the Sultan of Brunei's team. So he said, look, they'll make you the marquee player. There's plenty of money in it. Come play for 7 or 8 months or whatever it is, 9 months. Get yourself fit. Get yourself scoring goals. You'll go back to England in a better place, not only goals wise, but physically. You'll feel better. You're fresh come October time and the season finishes here. So I turned it down actually once or twice. I was like, no, I don't want to leave. I'm 27, 28. I'll get myself fit and I'll be flying again. I'll move back up the leagues here. I believed that. But anyway, he kept ringing. He was persistent. And eventually I made a decision. Yeah, look, said to my wife, we just got married. We built this lovely house here. Let's move. So we ended up moving to Brunei. Where she didn't know where it was, and I wasn't too sure either. But it was really a kind of a good opportunity. It didn't feel like it when we got there, and it was a bit of a shock to the system. But you know what? Once I went there, played for a good coach, made some good friends there as well. It opened my eyes up to what the possibilities were and different styles of football and playing in Asia. It opened my eyes to maybe Australia being a destination for me. And I got myself fit anyway. Long story short, I got myself fit. I scored 26 goals that year, plenty of assists. I had a good partnership with a Brazilian called Rodrigo Tossi. And we done really well. And it opened up the door to go to the A-League in Australia. And I'm very thankful for that. And it opened my eyes to, what more there is out there on the horizon in football.
So after Brunei, you went to Indonesia. It was only a very short stint because the league actually got scrapped after I think you only played one match. And then you moved to Australia. Did you know much about the A-League or Australia before joining?
Yeah, I did. In fairness, there used to be reruns in the UK. Famously, obviously, they took the piss on Soccer AM about the Aussie commentary. I think Andy Harper was the commentator. I know that now. I didn't know that then. But yeah, so I used to watch the rerun, the hour goals catch up and review, and the MLS as well. So I always had a bit of a vested interest in the MLS and the A-League because I thought they were growing brands. I liked the colours, I liked the culture in both the countries, and I liked the style of football. And as I said, when I went to Brunei, it opened my eyes that actually, you know what, even though I am 28, 29, why not? Why do I need to go back to England? Why not try something different, And Indonesia, the Super League was starting there, and there was big things and loads of money and this and that. But really, that was only a stopgap because they were playing February until June or something was the start of their season. And the A-League obviously doesn't start till October. So I was actually always planning to go to the A-League, but that was just an in-between. But anyway, in the end, it got scrapped, and I had a meeting with Tony Walmsley about going to Central Coast Mariners, and I met him on the Central Coast. And as soon as I saw the place at the stadium, I was like, yeah, we'll give it a go.
And the stadium of Central Coast is pretty famous for having some giant palm trees. Now, when you first joined Central Coast Mariners, they had one of the most infamous kits in world football, a yellow kit, giant palm tree on the side. There's a photo of you, Liam Reddy, looking absolutely miserable wearing this kit. What were your thoughts when you first got told this is the kit you're going to be wearing? Did you think it was a joke?
Yeah, I was thinking I'm all for branding and being a bit different and unique, but Jesus, a palm tree on the front of a bright yellow kit. And the kit was skin tight as well. And it was about 90 degrees. I was like, Jesus, how am I going to play here? But, unfortunately, that wasn't the the worst part of our season that year at the Central Coast. But it certainly set the tone. You know, it was probably one of the worst jerseys. But I must say, a great club, great family club. Met some lovely people. Some I'm still in touch with now, friends with now. But unique stadium. You know, there's a lot of good things at the club, and it's great to see how well they done last year. Like a lot of other teams in the A-League, I'd like to see that unique stadium full now when COVID does pass us by, because you know, when I played it that first season, it was electric. I mean, that we didn't get to try the results that we warranted at times. We were very young and experienced. We lost a lot of quality. You touched on Rocket there. We lost him about 2 games into the season. An experienced goalkeeper in the A-League, quality goalkeeper. We lost Anthony Caceres and Fitzy and Josh Rose in that season as well. So we lost so much quality out of our ranks, and it wasn't replaced. But as I said, when things are done right at A-League clubs, and Mariners being one, you know, there's nowhere better to play for any foreigners looking at coming home.
Now, the Central Coast Mariners stadium and their jersey isn't the only unique thing about Australia. In fact, the whole country is pretty different to anywhere else in the rest of the world. So when you first come to Australia, was there anything that was a bit of a culture shock to you?
Yeah, I suppose some of the words you use, some of the language took a bit of getting used to. But you know, I must say, as a place, it is a very diverse. But the first place we came to, believe it or not, in Australia was Darwin. Ellen, my wife's brother, was working there, so we came and had a look at Darwin. Lovely place, again, completely different to Brisbane, completely different to Sydney, Central Coast, Newcastle. Everywhere has its own kind of unique kind of culture and fabric of the place. But I like that. I like that everywhere I go, it's different. But the people are very nice in Australia. I think that you're very open. You like to have a laugh, and you like to have a beer as well. So I think you tick all the boxes. Yeah, the Irish kind of connection side. I think that's why we kind of get on so well, and that's why there's probably so many settlers that have come here from Ireland and the UK in general, within England and stuff, that they come here, they don't want to leave, because it is paradise, and I genuinely mean that.
And speaking of Newcastle, you have had 2 stints there. They are, of course, Central Coast Mariners rivals. So after your first season with the Mariners, you did have a few offers around the league. What made you choose Newcastle? And was it a difficult decision knowing that you're joining pretty much your side's bitter rivals?
Yeah, I had a few options, but I suppose it basically came down to, I had a young family. I wanted to progress. I'm a demanding person, so I wanted to know, as a football club, were we going to progress that next season? Were they going to invest? And I wanted to get paid. So, I mean, Laurie was very persistent, and he, you know, obviously the Ledmans were throwing a bit of money around, and he was saying, look, we're going to try and do something this year. So it'll be good for you to come here and set the ball rolling. And I'm glad I did, because, you know, we signed myself and Nikolai Topper-Stanley, Dimi Petradas came in, Ronald Vargas, Danny Georgievski. So we signed a team that was pushing to challenge for a trophy in the A-League, and we just fell short that first year. But we played some great football under Ernie Merrick as well, who was the coach, one of the most successful coaches in the history of the A-League. But I suppose, yeah, it was difficult to go to somebody's nearest rival. But, you know, I'm Irish, I'm from Cork. So, you know, if I had joined Cork City's biggest rivals, okay, I might have felt a little bit bad in my gut. But this is my job, and I moved to Australia before knowing anything much about Central Coast Mariners, and I felt the same way about going to Newcastle. If it's the right for my football career and for my family's life, then let's do it. And I must say, when I came to Newcastle as a place to live, I live here now still, and it's home. Love Newcastle. Obviously, it's an easier place to live and a more enjoyable place to win as a footballer when you're winning games. So last year was a little bit difficult. It was a polar opposite to my first season, whereas we were spending lots of money and we were challenging, whereas last year we spent no money, lost quality everywhere, from coaching staff to players to everything. I think the administrators came in and took a bag of balls at one stage, so we literally had nothing left. But it was a challenge last year. But you look, as I said, it's a club that's going through a rebuild now, and I wish them well.
and you've been in Australia for a while. You're actually an Aussie citizen now.
Yeah.
So you must love it here. You must love the A-League. You're currently without a club. Is there any sort of little snippets you can give us? Is there any deals being signed? I know Western Sydney Wanderers fans have been talking a little bit about you joining.
Yeah. Well, look, obviously, it's as I've just talked to you for 10 minutes, waxing lyrical about the A-League. I do love it here. There's nowhere better to put on a show than Australia sport in general. The A-League is no exception. You know, I watch every game in the A-League. I watch every game. I love it. What frustrates me is the last few years that the money has come out of the game a little bit. The fan bases have gone down. People have lost, I don't know if they lost interest in the A-League or if they lost interest in general with Australian football. They don't feel in touch with it. There's something missing. So you've got a new Paramount deal. You've got, plenty of fresh blood. The Ollie Roo's done quite well. So there's a lot of good things happening. I just like to see the stadiums full again. Regarding my own situation, I haven't signed anywhere yet, but would love to stay in the A-League. Yeah, I've got plenty to offer. And, as I said, I played every game last year. I trained every session. I'm feeling good, feeling strong, feeling confident, but just need to find a new home.
Well, I'm hoping to see you in the A-League next season. But aside from that, what are your goals for the rest of 2021?
Not go crazy in lockdown. I'm even taking up a lot of flat packing. I'm varnishing my kitchen table. I'm doing every single job here. My house is like a glassy palace at the moment. I just need to be let out and train again. But I'm just keeping busy, mate. I'm keeping busy. My wife is doing all the homeschooling. I'm not sure I'm the right personality for a kindergarten learning how to read and write, but my wife does that very well. But I'm keeping busy with other jobs. I can't say I've made too many other goals besides getting back to work and just keep on top of the house chores.
Well, thanks so much for joining me this afternoon, Roy. It's been an absolute pleasure.
My pleasure, mate. Thanks for having me, and all the best with it.